with the Browns taking Jordan Elliott at 88. The Vikings are now officially on the clock with pick 89 in the third round.
I'll say that they will take a corner here.
I'm with you on this
one.
It
makes a lot of sense. Troy Pride Jr. or Cameron Dantzler. Cameron Dantzler makes the most sense to me. Did not have a good NFL combine.
Who's got the
that
size?
Was his problem.
Give me the size.
Dantzler.
Okay.
6'2".
Oh, yeah.
Numbers are really good over the last 2 years.
Yep.
He probably needs to get a little bit stronger. One of the big issues is just that he ran a 4.6 at the 40. And that's going to hurt you. Yep. That's
going to cost you draft status.
It's going to bring you down a notch. That doesn't mean you can't do it, but usually at the cornerback position, you do have to be fast. He had a great 2018, a very good 2019. That's my guess, but there are 24 players that they could be looking at here. And I remember, what was it, last year, 2 years ago, when they took Jalen Holmes, where I was like, wait, who? I did not know Jalen Holmes at that point, and he hadn't produced almost anything at Ohio State. They just loved how he translated for some of his physical skills. And so, okay.
It could be a curveball is what you're trying to warn me of.
Well, it does happen. I would not have guessed a running back last year either at this point.
No.
Would you have guessed Alexander Madison running back?
Not there.
Not in the third round, sir. Probably not. All right, we've
Here's
got
the
our
selection.
pick. Here we go.
Football. Thank you, Vikings, for making this quick. Appreciate you not dragging your feet. There you go.
Cameron Dantzler. Okay.
Nice call by Matthew Collar, ladies and gentlemen. Matthew Collar, Cameron Dantzler.
It makes sense to get multiple corners.
Yes.
When you are so
he's got good size.
Short on corners and you have a guy, it actually kind of reminds me a little of Holton Hill in terms of the size. But I pulled up his numbers here.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2018, he only allowed 22 catches on 51 targets and had 2 picks.
Yep.
And then last year, 14 on 29 targets with 1 touchdown against and 2 picks. So quarterback ratings against him in the last 2 years, 41 and 57. Opponents have not had a whole lot of success in throwing at Cameron Dantzler.
All right, dumb question. Is the speed issue more of a straight ahead speed issue and actually playing football, he's okay? Because, you don't basically have to, I'm not saying that you don't have to keep up with guys because you do, but there's also a lot of stopping and starting in this sport that I don't think we account for in a straight 40-yard dash.
Yeah. His 10-yard split, so his quickness was not bad at the combine, but the 40-yard dash was borderline. It's a problem. This would be one where maybe they even see some safety or big nickel. Remember with J-Ron Curse. Yeah, right. They loved what they had the potential to do with J-Ron Curse, though the problem with big nickel for Dantzler is that he's not a strong guy. He's only 190 pounds.
Can they beef him up?
Tall and lanky.
Hit the weight room.
Yeah, I mean, his production is what you're looking at here and liking. If he was this size and had a 4.3, he would be in the first round and had this type of production. But you look at how he played on the field, and if he goes man-to-man with taller receivers, you might have a shot to develop. So, yeah, Dantzler's a good pick. I mean, I think that corners...
This has been a successful draft.
Corners at this spot...
continues to be a successful draft.
Take them. Yes, I think this is very much a successful draft.
All right, and it's going to be the Houston Texans drafting next at 90th. The Vikings will not draft again for 15 picks. Their second, third round pick will be at 105, and I think I just saw Bill O'Brien melt down at his desk with his kid sitting right there, and I'm not surprised.
Really?
He really just melted down. He got up and stormed off, and he did not
look happy. He really wanted Cameron Dantzler?
He did not look happy, issue? And his son is sitting right there. And by the way, I saw this tweeted, and it's absolutely true. There is no question tonight. Some kids are being held hostage by their parents to sit there and watch the draft because it's super boring now, and they still go to shots of executives whose kids are in the room.
What do you think?
There's no way that any child wants to be in a room.
Adam Gase's kid was playing with a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, but this proves my theory. The league is mandating children be in the room to make it look like it's a family affair. First round, I'm in.
Yeah.
If Dad's doing the first round, I'm all in.
Third round, give that kid some video games.
Dad, I'm going to go watch Chips or something. See you later. Bye.
Chips?
The old TV show.
Do you think that's what they're going to watch?
No, I don't. That's just a joke, okay? I would have gone and watched Chips in third grade.
You'll like this, or Zimmer will, from Pro Football Focus. Yes, Cameron Dantzler allowed a 13 passer rating on his career on third down. So in key situations. Well, then, if he's got skill to make plays on the ball, Pro Football Focus had him as a second-round projection. The combine probably hurt the most for him. If he has the ability to make plays on the ball and he could stay with people because of his height, taller receivers, then you have an opportunity to become a good corner. I am pretty concerned about that 40, though.
Okay, so
there are not many guys who run a 4.64 who have been all that successful as corners.
I'm not joking here. Is there a chance to get him to beef up enough where he could become a version of what they tried to do with Curse? Because that idea was a good idea.
Yeah, potentially.
I didn't think that they actually utilized it in the end enough, but I like the thought process of how they started to use Curse.
So the scouting reports that I'm reading on him is that in man coverage, he has a good ability to stay with guys. So the match and mirror that we've been talking about. And if you are fluid in your hips.
Football.
Okay, thank you.
So this is the thing that Pro Football Focus wrote about him as a football player, that if he had 15 more pounds and was a little faster, you'd be talking about him as one of the top corners off the board just based on how he plays. Roger is about to fall asleep.
Roger looks, he does.
Oh my gosh.
Jonathan just pointed it out.
He's straight up napping.
Oh yeah, he's done.
Raj has had enough.
I don't blame Raj.
$40 million a year, Roger. My gosh.
I know, but it's the third round. It's below him, and he knows it. Roger's a 2-round commissioner for sure. You don't get when to Collar's point just there. When there was a year that you cleared something like 42 mil, you shouldn't have to announce the third round. And he was napping.
He's going to have a blanket on him the next time we see him.
I do think.
Wouldn't that be great if they come back? Wouldn't that be great if they came back and he's got like a shawl and like a throw pillow behind his head? They're like, Roger, wake up.
So our friend Austin Gale from Pro Football Focus tweets out that he likes Cameron Dantzler's tape more than most. Big fan of the pick at 89, and shows some highlights of Dantzler tracking some pretty good receivers and going up and making plays on the ball. So like a ball player. I don't think that he's a guy that's necessarily big nickel because he's not that big. He's actually quite skinny. I think what you're looking for here is that maybe the guy just had a bad combine, but has good instincts and can play the game a little faster than his combine numbers look. And he really does, from these clips that Austin Gale tweeted out, he really does get his head around and make plays on the ball, which is something that Trey Waynes didn't do. And, just how like when you have a defensive coach that fails, you hire an offensive coach. Well, when you have a corner who could never get his head around on the ball, maybe you pick a corner who could get his head around on the ball.
How smart was Trey Waynes as far as his instincts to play football?
I never really got a great sense of that. Jerry Judy tweeted out that Cameron Dantzler is the real deal. So there you have it.
It's a nice endorsement.
It is a nice endorsement. You know what? One of the hardest players to put a finger on for any reason was Trey Waynes. I never got the idea he was unintelligent. And he was mostly a corner who's sort of stay on one side of the field, track your guy. But also he absolutely refused to talk to the media.
Right.
And I don't know why. And I never held it against him, but I never had a conversation with him to get a good sense for, is this a really smart guy or whatever? I would assume so to play in Zimmer's defense.
Was incredibly intelligent.
Or like
he just fell off, but he was a very intelligent person.
Rhodes was really savvy. He's just sort of clever. Like he would pick up things on tape, little details and little things that receivers would do so he could get a bit of an edge on them.
Yep.
And then he would formulate a plot. Like I wouldn't want Xavier Rhodes to be an elected official, but I would want him to watch tape with and just show you
Explain
sort of
the plot line to me.
Savant type of thing.
Explain your plot line.
Well, like just for example, let's say he's facing off with Alshon Jeffrey. He's going to fully understand everything that Alshon Jeffrey does well and what the quarterback likes to do involving Alshon Jeffrey. And then he's going to position himself in order to try and stop that guy. So he's going to say, look, if this guy takes this sort of release, that usually means he's going to run a comeback. Okay. If he takes that sort of release, or if he ducks his head down, that means he's taken off. He's trying to run a go.
He was very well prepped.
Yeah. And I think that the world just moved slower to Xavier Rhodes. Like his mind was fast, so he could spot things at full speed that none of us would ever see.
Mm-hmm.
So, his instincts for the position developed which you don't see very often, but he had been a wide receiver in college at first and then switched to corner. And then he just got better and better at picking up on those things. And, became by 2017 and 2016 a tremendous player.
Right.
But I think that what I see from Dantzler, just on a few clips here and reading a little bit more about him, is that he's an instinctual football player who did not have the impressive details. And of course, he was much faster at his virtual pro day than he was at the end of the
wasn't?
combine.
So was I.
So was I. I ran a
My
4.3.
virtual pro day was fantastic.
Just throw that in the garbage. But you watch him play, he doesn't look like he is plotting. He looks smooth, and he looks like he gets his head around and goes up and makes plays on the ball.
Okay.
That's stuff that is probably exciting to Mike Zimmer.
And it does. I think the starting point for guys that Mike likes are guys that have the ability and have instincts and are smart players. And so I think if you give Mike an athlete, it's not saying that the player is going to fail for sure, but it seems to me, and the way the Vikings are drafting, I think especially cornerback reflects this, is if Mike can get his hands on you and you already have a basic understanding of what you're trying to do, as opposed to just being athletically gifted, there's a better chance for you to succeed as far as his patience goes.
Yes.
Do you think that's fair?
Yes.
And so if they're going in a direction here, because the question now, depth chart wise at cornerback too, as we talked about earlier on the show, is who can step in and play as quickly as possible and not drive Mike crazy. Seriously, who can do the job?
Yeah. And if Dantzler has that type of natural understanding of the game and a natural football ability, natural athleticism to him that isn't the combine style athleticism, that could play well with Mike Zimmer. An instinctualness to play at a very high level and put up incredibly good numbers. I mean, so, this is where I always favor the tape. If someone has a concerning 40, then they're probably not a first round pick. But if they've put up numbers like that against a high level, I mean, sure, in the third round, that's absolutely the guy you want to go